So I'm trying to remove the bracket that keeps the catalytic converter in place. So the catalytic converter has a rod like this, but there's a bracket there. So the rod has rubbers here, and the rubbers are attached to a bracket. I want to remove that bracket, and it has two bolts. You can see one of them, it's there, and another one here. That's the subframe, the rear part of the subframe. You access these bolts from the catalytic converter side. It's 40 millimeter. Use a spanner on them. You can couple of second spanner to get more leverage. And then there's a third bolt for the same bracket, sits here. And you probably don't see it now. You can probably have a sight of the bolt. I just removed it. This guy sits in between. It's a 40 millimeter bolt too. It's a short one. Sits in between. That's the bracket from the catalytic converter. This is the subframe, and this is the steering rack. And the bolt sits in between two. So you may want to remove it, but you won't be able to take it out from that place. So for doing that, you notice this right there. It's a lower rear engine mount. It sits right on the rack, so you need to first untighten two rack bolts. So if I shake camera, this here 50 millimeter deep socket, maybe you can get the ratchet the spanner on this, but on the other side I don't think you'll see it. It's another 50 millimeter, takes a deep socket, that one. Not very tight bolts. So once you remove them, you need to lift a little bit the rack itself from the subframe, or the rack is pressing down by a mount. So you need to lift the rear of the engine on the transmission, perhaps not too much, so not to buzz anything else like connections and stuff. I lifted it by half an inch, and once it's lifted, you get the pressure out of the transmission. You may want to pray like this. Sorry. Pry like this. Careful with the lines, right? You don't want to bust those. Just pry, get a good leverage, lift a little bit the rack itself. You don't really need to lift it, but it just to release the pressure on that bolt, and then the bolt will came out of its the place where the screws in the subframe. And then try to toast the bolt before removing the bracket, the converter bracket. Just push it out of the bracket like I did now, and then you're able to remove the bracket. Final word, shim a little bit the bolt, just grind it a bit at the end. You don't need it to be so long, so it's going to be much easier to put that back in place. So shorten it a little bit. I have a better idea. So instead of lifting the steering rack, disconnecting the two steering rack bolts and lifted it, just remove the two rear bolts, and then for the one that sits inside the subframe, don't remove it, just leave it in the subframe and go underneath the car, underneath the subframe actually, that you can reach with a cutting wheel, and chop off a few threads here. You will see this is a rusty part. I already chopped a little bit of it, so it's not the same length anymore. If you can see this on the picture, you can't see properly, but it's already shorter. So anyway, go shorter. The rusted part here, you don't need it actually. It goes into the air. So chop a little bit, let's say 2-3 millimeters. Cut it off, and then unscrew the bolt, and should be able to clear the space between the frame and the steering rack without moving at all the steering rack. And you just put it back on when it's finished.